Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Sumia Ben in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "I accidentally rejected my coworker who is also my friend and I regret it. I am a 25-year-old woman who just moved to the city and was honestly really grateful to have found a friend. My coworker, a 29-year-old man, and I started getting close and he became my work best friend. We had lunch and breaks together. Eventually, he started inviting me to concerts and movies with his friends, and the whole time it felt quite friendly. I never got the sense he was interested in me romantically. We would even ride together sometimes and began going for runs together. We started sending each other reels and videos, staying in touch throughout the day. Then he started coming over to my place because we both liked White Lotus, so we thought, let's watch it together. Throughout all of this, he never alluded to anything romantic. He never touched me or flirted, and he introduced me to other people as his friend. For my job, I often have to stay late to set things up for the next day. He began offering more and more to stay and help, even though our other coworkers would go out for drinks. He would leave himself out of social events just to help me, and that is when I started sensing something more. At some point, I even broke down to him about how hard moving away from my family was for me. I told him how guilty I felt about leaving my parents and missing valuable time with them, and also how guilty I was about leaving my 11-year-old sister and missing her milestones. He was very understanding and really talked me through it and helped me. Then, one day, he was helping me set up a conference room and I asked him, "Why are you doing this? You are in no way obligated to do this. It has nothing to do with your job at all." He then started opening up and said, "Well, when you like someone, you do things for them." I responded, What do you mean?" He said, "Well, in case you could not tell, I have feelings for you." I was baffled. I asked him since when, and he answered, "I liked you from the moment I saw you." This puzzled me even more. Why not just ask me out from the start? He said, "I guess I just wanted to get to know you first." Then he asked, "Do you want to go on a real date?" I kind of freaked out. My fear of commitment kicked in and I reactively declined the date, saying I did not think it was a good idea. I got really scared and anxious. I have always run away when something is about to become real. He just shut down and it was awkward and silent until we left. Now I regret it because ever since then, he has not engaged with me at all. It has been 2 days and he is avoiding me. No texts, no eye contact. I could not even find him at lunch. When I finally went up to him and asked, "What about the date?" he said, "Never mind, do not worry about it," and walked away. Did I miss my chance? Would he want me to pursue it more? Now that I have processed everything and thought about what we could be, I am interested. If I am being honest, I always thought he was a great guy and exactly what I needed. He is the more chill, soft-spoken type, which I love because I grew up with a very fiery father who had an extremely short fuse, so I always dreamed of finding someone more on my wavelength. There is a reason why we worked so well as friends, but I just did not let myself go there or even think he would see me that way. I think I hurt his feelings by rejecting his date offer, even though I did not mean to. Do I still have a chance to fix this, or does it seem like I have put him off being with me? Update. First of all, thank you everyone for the great advice. I really appreciate it. The most common suggestion I received was to be honest and plan a date for him. I wanted to do that, but in a more intimate setting, so I decided to be bold. I got his favorite food, went to his apartment, and knocked on his door. I would pay to have footage of the look on his face because he was so taken aback. I asked if he minded if I came in. He was a bit hesitant, but he said yes. We sat down and I explained everything I had mentioned in this post, how I freaked out because I was taken aback and scared. I was afraid of anchoring myself to a place away from my family, afraid to lose my only friend, and afraid that the idea of having me would end up being better than actually having me. I told him that after having time to process it all, I am very much into the idea and can see all the ways we are great for each other. I expressed how grateful I am for everything he has done for me and that if I reacted negatively, Basically, it had nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. When I finished, he apologized. He said, "I am also sorry. I did not mean to ice you out. I was just disappointed and needed a little time. I would have eventually started speaking to you again, as I would still rather be your friend than not." That was a big relief because I had seen comments from people saying, well, if he was just hanging out with you to get in your pants, then he is not your friend or he is immature. He proved that he is not. He is actually great. Another thing people said was that if I did not like him romantically at all, then I should just leave him alone, or that I might just miss the attention. I genuinely did not even entertain the idea because the nature of our relationship was so platonic. In my mind, we were just friends. If he were interested, he would have said so, or shown it, flirted, or been more tactile. I accepted that as reality, so when he said he liked me, it was a complete surprise. We have officially decided to give it a go. We had a pretty deep conversation about where we see our lives going, and our visions are very much in alignment. I am super happy, but I admit I am still a bit fearful, though I keep reminding myself that if I do not try, I will regret it. I still have a date planned involving all of his favorite things that I am working on in my back pocket because I feel I have some making up to do. Oh, and we ended up kissing, and it was wonderful. Weasel Panty said, "I just want to say to all the young people out there that if you feel this way, they are not the right person for you. The right person makes you feel happy, safe, relaxed, comfortable, and excited to see them. Just thinking about them when you're in a stressful situation helps you to relax, and actually being near them feels like being in a little cloud of bliss." Verdukian said, "When are we going to start giving men the same grace we give women? Are men not allowed some processing time after situations like this? Because this happens all the time. A man is rejected because he wanted a romantic future and the woman did not. He goes quiet and she gets angry, but he went quiet in the first place because he is processing and figuring out how to move forward. Is that not allowed?" Uncurious Crouton said, "This is wholesome. I do wonder about the commenters who condemned the guy for stepping back after OP turned him down. It takes courage to put your feelings for someone out there. If they reject you, stepping back is, in my opinion, a necessary step. If someone does not return your feelings, it is tough to continue being friends with them." This next post was made in the entitled People subreddit by a user named Ashima. The post is titled, "I refuse to date my friend because of his toxic family. I am a 30-year-old woman and have a close friend from college named Marlon who is 31. We went to college together, graduated together, and still hang out during our lunch breaks, as our office buildings are just a 5-minute walk from each other. I work for the federal government and he works for an investment firm. Last October, I allowed Marlon to move in with me after his girlfriend, Paige, who is 29, broke up with him and kicked him out. Paige is a Jewish, openly bisexual, liberal tattoo artist who owns her own tattoo parlor. Her body is beautifully covered in tattoos and she has jet black hair. Unlike Marlon, she asserts herself, is able to stand up for herself, and can be argumentative at times. A little backstory about why they broke up. Marlon comes from a so-called traditional evangelical family from Mississippi. His family moved to the Bay Area in 2020 during the pandemic so they could be closer to him, or more specifically, so they could get him to better support them. Marlon's mother is on welfare, his father is on Social Security, and Marlon's brother Ryan, who is 35, is unemployed, relying on Marlon and their parents for support. Marlon's parents and brother live in a 2-bedroom apartment, while Marlon, as mentioned, now lives with me but previously lived with Paige. Marlon's family is toxic, treats him with little to no respect, and constantly criticizes him while coddling Ryan. They routinely gang up on him, criticize, and ridicule him, even though Marlon is the only one in the family to have gone to college. He pays their rent, their groceries, their internet, their shopping expenses, and more. During their relationship, Paige and Marlon agreed not to get involved in each other's family matters unless it directly affected them. Paige expressed concerns to Marlon about his family and how they treated him, but did not press further due to their agreement, and the fact that at the time, Marlon's family was not directly interfering with her life. Paige generally avoided contact with Marlon's family, sickened by the way they treated him. When she tried to stand up for Marlon, he would shush her and tell her not to raise her voice to his parents. On one of the few occasions she met them, Paige got into a fight with Marlon's parents because his mother made snide remarks about her tattoos and demanded Paige take down the pride flag, the Ukraine flag, and the Black Lives Matter banner from her parlor. Marlon's parents also disapproved of Paige owning her own home, which she inherited from her grandfather, because they believed it was emasculating for a woman to own property and run her own business. Marlon once told me his parents were against Paige being Jewish. They claimed they would consider accepting her if she removed her tattoos, stopped being Jewish, and lived the traditional evangelical life they tried to instill in Marlon and Ryan. They basically wanted Paige to convert and become a traditional housewife. Marlon did a poor job standing up for Paige. He attempted to remedy the situation by sheepishly asking her to cover her tattoos and take down the flags in her shop as a compromise to keep the peace. She refused and threatened to break up with him if he continued to push her on the issue. Marlon is a genuinely kind, intelligent, and supportive person. He was there for me during a difficult period in my freshman year. When his family is not around, he thrives and is very much his own person. But ever since his family moved to California and got back into his life, it is like they have drained the life out of him. Paige, I, and other friends have all tried talking to him, urging him to cut them off, but he is desperate for their approval and validation and will not listen. He keeps saying things like, maybe if I try a little harder, or they are going to change soon. Eventually, it became pointless to even bring it up. Things worsened when Marlon's family started demanding more money due to his mother's credit card debt and shopping habits, and because his parents used some of the money Marlon gave them to travel across the country for campaign rallies during the last presidential election. When Marlon could not give them more money, they went after Paige, contacting her and demanding that as their son's girlfriend, she had to pitch in to support them. Paige ignored them at first, but things reached a breaking point when Marlon's mother and brother Ryan entered her parlor demanding money. According to Paige, they believed that as his girlfriend, whatever she owned was Marlon's, and whatever was Marlon's was theirs, with Marlon's mother screaming that they needed money to pay off her debts. Paige called emergency services after Ryan jumped over the counter and tried to pry open the cash register. While she was on the phone, Marlon's mother punched Paige in the face and tried to grab her phone. The barber across the street, who is friends with Paige, saw the commotion and, along with two of his patrons, stepped in to help. They managed to subdue Ryan while Paige finished her call, and meanwhile, Marlon's mother verbally assaulted them using slurs and derogatory language toward both the barber and Paige. Marlon's mother and brother were arrested. Paige pressed charges because Ryan had tried to rob her shop, and Marlon's mother's violence caused Paige to suffer a bleeding lip and a mild concussion. As for my relationship with Paige, we are just acquaintances. We have met a couple of times at social events, including events with Marlon, and have connected on social media. After Marlon told me about their breakup, I messaged Paige out of curiosity for her side of the story. We met at a tea house in Union Square, where Paige filled me in on what Marlon had left out. She explained that after pressing charges and moving for a restraining order against Marlon's family, Marlon begged her to withdraw her statement and the restraining order, to tell the police she made it all up, and to simply make peace because he did not want to lose his family. Paige said that Marlon did not even ask if she was all right or apologize for his family's actions. Because of this, Paige ended things with Marlon immediately. He begged her not to leave him, but Paige reminded him that he always chose his family over her, repeatedly failed to support her, and that she could not feel safe in his life as long as his family remained involved. I thanked Paige for sharing her story and apologized for Marlon's actions. She assured me none of it was my fault. Before leaving, Paige warned me to keep my distance from Marlon's family and mentioned his mother's strange obsession with having grandchildren. When I returned home, since Marlon was already staying with me, I admittedly lost my temper. I demanded he apologize to Paige for not supporting her and stop begging her to get back together, which he eventually did a couple of months later. I also discussed with Marlon the importance of at least setting boundaries with his family, since he would not cut them off. I pointed out that he earns more than I do, yet he can barely support himself because he supports 3 adults and pays their debts, rent, groceries, and legal bills with his own income. As a result, he has lost not only several friendships, but also his girlfriend of 3 years because of his relationship with them. Although he seems to understand, he is still having trouble with boundaries. And yes, he still pays their debts and bills. In case you were wondering, I live in my childhood 4-bedroom family home, which my parents bought in the 1990s. My parents moved to Seattle 2 years ago, letting me live here as long as I handle the house expenses myself. Fast forward to today. 7 months have passed since Paige broke up with Marlon. He is still living with me and we are still friends. Despite this, I require him to contribute to household expenses such as groceries and the water bill since he is living with me. A couple of nights ago, I was watching Netflix in my living room when Marlon asked if I would be willing to go out with him, meaning an actual date. In college, we talked a few times about the possibility of dating because when his family is not involved, he is a genuinely nice guy and we spend a lot of time together, but nothing came from it at the time. I paused the movie to have a serious conversation. I told Marlon bluntly that if it were just him and only him, I might be open to dating. When his family is not involved, he is supportive and kind. However, I pointed out that nearly all of his salary goes to supporting 3 unemployed adults, and I reminded him of what happened with Paige. With that in mind, I asked if we were to get together, get married, and have children, how would he support our family while also supporting his parents and brother? Would he set boundaries this time around since he failed to do so when Paige and I previously urged him? Would his parents expect me to support them too if we were a couple? Additionally, I am mixed race. My mother is white and my father is Indian and am Catholic, though not very religious. I'm aware that my ethnicity might pose a problem for his family and that I do not share many of their values. Marlon's response was that he would do his best to try to balance things and would only expect me to occasionally help his parents to keep the peace. He also tried to reassure me by saying that his parents would not mind me not being white as long as I agreed to abide by their rules whenever they were around. Taking a deep breath, I told him that unless he goes completely no contact with his parents, I will not date him, and that any relationship he has in the future is likely doomed if his family remains overly involved. I then got up and went to bed, and we have not spoken about dating or his family since that night. Update. For clarification, no, I never realistically intended to plan to date or enter a romantic relationship with Marlon. He and I talked about it yesterday and we agreed that while he is attracted to me, he also does not think it would be a good idea for us to date, mainly because of my skin color and that being an issue for his mother. Apparently, he briefly mentioned the possibility of us dating to his mother, who immediately rejected the idea because I was too brown for her. This is one of the very few times that racism has actually worked in my favor, I suppose. Also, Marlon is still missing Paige, and he told me that he has been back and forth about trying to get back together with her. I reminded him that not only should he leave Paige alone, but that, given his situation, unless he gets serious help first and cuts his parents out of his life, getting into another relationship would be the worst possible thing he could do. Lastly, yes, Marlon and I have a written month-to-month lease. He pays me rent monthly, although it is a small amount compared to other properties on the market, and if I were to cancel its renewal, I would need to give him 30 days notice. I, along with a couple of our other mutual friends, have been urging him to find his own place and at least start doing things for himself, hoping that will eventually give him the confidence to start breaking away from his parents. Update 2. This is a follow-up to my original story from last month, and I am not sure where to begin because of how complicated this has all become. I should probably rewind and explain how things got to this point. After Marlon's ex-girlfriend Paige, who is 29, broke up with him last October, Paige and I actually started talking. We have become friends and have started going to the gym together. Paige has also recently started dating a man from our gym, whom I will call Virgil, who is 33. It turns out Paige and Virgil happened to attend the same high school, although they were a few years apart. In the 7 months since Paige broke up with Marlon, who is 31, Marlon has been working tirelessly to support his freeloading family. He has essentially been a wreck without Paige and is dealing with the constant belittling from his family, especially regarding his earnings. He even admitted that he missed the support and comfort Paige provided every time he had a negative interaction with his family. Despite my encouragement and that of our friend group, Marlon has not been able to move on and keeps wanting to talk to Paige in hopes of winning her back. Throughout the 7 months they have been separated, Marlon has tried showing up at Paige's home and tattoo parlor to talk to her, but she kept turning him away. Paige eventually threatened to call the police and obtain a restraining order if Marlon showed up uninvited again, and he finally stopped, at least until recently. Marlon has also complained about being unable to meet his family's ever-increasing financial demands, debts, medical bills, and shopping habits. Additionally, Marlon's mother has been pressuring him and his brother about her desire for grandchildren. As some of you noted previously, I am pretty convinced that one reason Marlon wants Paige back, or to a lesser extent wants to be with me, is because he needs someone to help support his family, provide a buffer between him and them, and act as an emotional support person for himself. In late March, Marlon learned that Paige had a new boyfriend, Virgil, which caused him to panic. He went on a rant saying he did not want to lose Paige. I reminded him that Paige had already broken up with him and their relationship was over. Nevertheless, Marlon still tried texting, calling, and messaging Paige repeatedly, even going so far as to create new accounts to contact her, insisting he just wanted to talk and believes they can still work things out. I told him to stop, and I even showed him a video message from Paige in which she explicitly told him to stop contacting her. On Saturday, May 17th, I took time off work and went away for a week with a man I met online whom I will call Jack, who is 55. He took me to his cabin in the mountains. While away, I received a notification that someone was at my door. It was Marlon's parents demanding to speak to Marlon. I assumed Marlon was not home since he did not answer, so I told them through the doorbell camera that he was probably at work and asked what they wanted. Marlon's parents launched into a rant about how disappointed they were in their son for not earning enough to provide for them, as well as about needing more money to pay for Marlon's mother's legal bills, gambling addiction, and medical bills. Marlon's father also mentioned that he needed Marlon to sign for and pay for a Denali pickup truck he wanted to buy since the truck he bought himself had just been repossessed. Marlon's mother then asked if I was dating or sleeping with Marlon. I told her no, that there is nothing between us, and that Marlon had already told me she did not want me dating her son because I am too brown for her taste, so that should not be an issue. Marlon's mother replied that at this point, due to her age and poor health, she just wanted to have grandchildren, even if they are mixed race. I caught my breath and told her once more that I am just Marlon's friend and, legally speaking, his landlord. That was the extent of it. She then said that if Marlon and I had sex and I became pregnant, she wanted to name the baby. After that, they left. I was speechless and honestly felt a bit sick from the conversation. On Friday afternoon, as Jack and I wrapped up our trip, I turned my phone on and found multiple missed calls and messages from Marlon and Tiffany, who is 30. Jack dropped me off at home, and when I went inside, I found Marlon's room completely trashed. The living room was also a mess to a lesser extent, and Marlon was just sitting on the couch looking more miserable than ever. I asked what happened, and Marlon explained that his parents had come back to my place. When he opened the door for them, they once again berated him for not earning enough to cover their medical bills, debts, and other expenses. This ended with Marlon agreeing to take out a loan to help finance his family and agreeing to sign for a truck at the dealership for his father. After he got home, Marlon became so frustrated that he started smashing up his room and parts of the living room. I called Tiffany, who is a close friend of mine, Paige, and Marlon, and she came over. Tiffany and I talked to Marlon, comforting him while also urging him again to cut off his parents. Tiffany pointed out that before his parents had moved here, Marlon was happy, confident, had a stable and fulfilling relationship with Paige, and was doing well at his job. Now, he is just a mess. I also told Marlon about the doorbell conversation I had with his mother and explained how his family's involvement is now indirectly affecting me. Marlon apologized and said he would try to take care of things. Tiffany, who comes from a wealthy family, offered to pay for Marlon to go to therapy, but Marlon refused, insisting that he just needed to try something else to win over his parents. He continued to justify their behavior by saying they were misunderstood. At this point, I wanted to point out to him how his family lacks boundaries, basic decency, and self-control, but trying to make him see this seemed futile. Tiffany and I cleaned up the living room while Marlon took care of his room. Later that night, I spoke with Tiffany and Paige about what we could do. Paige suggested reaching out to Marlon's other relatives to see if anyone might be willing to support him. I am considering evicting Marlon from my family home, but I do not want to do that just yet unless we can help him find somewhere else to stay. I will post an update if anything significant changes. Gwynison said, "What did I just read? Why in God's name did OP allow him into her house knowing all that history with his family from Paige? Why on earth did they all comfort that spineless jackass after he trashed her house because he was a spineless jackass with his family again? Why did I read all of that when the last update has no resolution? And now I want to reach through the internet to slap OP and strangle Marlon." Savage Fleur de Lis said, "You cannot help the unwilling. OP needs to unload Marlon as soon as possible before Chernobyl blows up in her face." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.